buying a Jeep Gladiator to do full-size truck things. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Rob Motive JT. I want to get on here and talk about buying a Jeep Gladiator, a mid-size truck, to do full-size truck things. You know, I see comments on the channel and forums and other places, people complaining about the Jeep Gladiator and what it can't do, trying to call it incapable. It's not capable of what it should be able to do. And I disagree with most of this stuff. I think that in most cases, people have actually bought the wrong truck. I think maybe they're trying to justify their complaining by going out in public, in this case, getting on social media, and complaining about the Jeep Gladiator and what they say it can't do. So let's run through a few things real quick. The things that I hear most commonly that the Jeep Gladiator can't do. Number one, towing. You know, I hear this one frequently. People complaining that the Jeep Gladiator can't tow. It doesn't tow enough. And when they hook it up to something like a 30-foot travel trailer, how horrible it is, how the gas mileage sucks, how it doesn't have any power, how it doesn't stay in the right gears. And I always get to thinking, you know, if you're hauling around something long and big and heavy, why in the world did you buy a mid-sized truck to begin with? In this case, a Jeep Gladiator. You know, it sounds like they cheaped out. You know, they spent all this money on a travel trailer, and then they cheaped out on the vehicle that they want to move it around with. They need a full-size truck, maybe a heavy-duty truck, maybe a dually or something. It depends on how big of a unit you're pulling. I mean, it's just crazy to complain about the limitations of the Jeep Gladiator when you knew what they were before you bought it, or at least you should have. Do your research, man. Next up, hauling. Another similar thing to towing, I think. People talking about the limitations of the Jeep Gladiator when it comes to hauling stuff. You know, it doesn't have enough capacity in the back to haul a bucket load and a half of stones, or maybe even really wet dirt or mulch. I mean, that stuff is heavy. I think people forget that while it is a truck, it's a mid-sized truck. It's a smaller truck. I mean, you can't go out and dump all this weight in the back and expect it to be able to handle it. It can't. You know, I did a video recently about some of the things that the Jeep Gladiator gets complaints about, and this was a big one, that it sags in the back. There's aftermarket things that you can do. I mean, you can put airbags on it, you can beef up the suspension, add some leaf springs, whatever. But you really shouldn't do that because you see the truck is not designed to do that in the first place. You should have bought a full-size truck. Next up is camping. You know, I think camping today is a growing interest, right? People have had enough of the daily grind. They want to jump into the Jeep Gladiator, head off into the wilderness, somewhere where there's no cell phone connectivity. You can't fire up the laptop and just get away from it all. Now, the thing I keep hearing about the Jeep Gladiator and camping is that there's not enough space. They can't haul enough junk with them. You know, when you're going out to rough it, it's very important that you bring all of the stuff, the creature comforts that are in your house. And I think it's kind of a little ridiculous to think that you're going to be able to haul tons and tons of stuff. Now, if it's just you, maybe one person, maybe two, obviously you can fit more stuff in. But when you've got a family of 4, maybe 5, I don't know, and you throw a bunch of stuff in there, it's going to get kind of tight. You're going to use up the bed for all your camping stuff. Maybe you've got one of those rooftop tent things, and that's going to take up space. And obviously, if you've got a couple of kids in the back, you're not going to have a lot of room to haul a lot of extra stuff. And again, it is a mid-sized truck. You can't expect full-size truck capability when you bought a mid-sized truck. And I know it's cool to buy something like the Jeep Gladiator, thinking that it's one of those rougher, kind of more rugged vehicles. You can get it to your camping space, set everything up, and then go out and do some four-wheeling and all that kind of stuff. But you got to get there first. And I think realistically, probably a full-size truck in this case would be better, depending on the terrain. Obviously, if you're going somewhere really remote, you don't want to get stuck anywhere, and you might want that winch and four-wheel drive and something a little bit more sleek, something that can get around a little bit better in the tighter spots. But realistically, if you're hauling around a family of 4 and you're going camping somewhere, you're probably going to spend more time fighting about everything that's jammed into the truck as opposed to actually enjoying the time that you're trying to get when you get away. I think a full-size truck is probably the answer there. You can't expect a mid-size truck, a Jeep Gladiator, to be equivalent and able to haul as much stuff. Next up, moving. I hear this once in a while too. People complaining about using the Jeep Gladiator to move stuff. In other words, maybe you live in an apartment, maybe you're bumping houses, I don't know, and you want to use your own truck because you don't want to pay somebody to come and do it. Maybe you're just moving across town and the Jeep Gladiator bed is just too small. You can't fit enough stuff in it. Well, heck yeah, it's not a box truck. I mean, it's not some kind of full-size flatbed or something. I mean, it is a mid-size truck. You're not going to put a refrigerator, a washer and dryer, and then all your other stuff, couches, TVs, all the junk that we have, motorcycles, bicycles, riding lawnmowers. You're not going to fit all that stuff in the back of a Jeep Gladiator, at least not in 1 or 2 or 10 trips. You're going to have to make more, and that takes time, and that's a drag, particularly if you're moving maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour away. You're going to spend more travel time, and nobody wants to do that. So don't cheap out. Don't expect the Jeep Gladiator bed to be able to haul as much stuff as a full-size truck. And I would argue if you're moving anyway, you probably should rent some sort of a box truck anyway. I mean, they're okay to move the odd 1 or 2 things back and forth. But when you're moving a whole apartment or a house, the Jeep Gladiator is not the right vehicle, nor is any other mid-size truck, and probably not a full-size truck either. Lastly, storage. I touched on this a little bit with camping. I hear complaints about this all the time, especially for folks that don't have the under-seat storage compartment. First thing I'd say is pony up the dollars and go buy one. They're very handy. But you can't expect to be able to store a ton of stuff in the Jeep Gladiator. It is a mid-sized truck. It's not really designed to be your home away from home where the kitchen sink and the couch and everything else is stored underneath the back seat. You need to be realistic. You're not going to haul a bunch of junk that's inside the Jeep Gladiator. Now, if you put a tonneau cover on the back, you can fit more stuff back there in the bed. But of course, then when you want to use it to haul those bucket loads of mulch and stone, you're going to have a problem because now you got to throw it all in the back seat and you're going to complain about not having any room and somebody might actually have to walk home. I don't know. Anyway, those are just a few things. I think a lot of people made the mistake. They bought the Jeep Gladiator. They complain about it. They really should have bought a full-size truck. Leave a comment. Let me know and be honest. Do you have a Jeep Gladiator and you regret it because it just doesn't do what you want it to do? And was that your fault? Not the fault of the Jeep Gladiator. I'd be curious to know. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Rob Motive, all about Toyota Tacomas, and Rob Motive MT, all about compact trucks or mini trucks. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Thanks for watching. Stay realistic out there. Bye.